I remember I was in the hospital and I just got my NG tube in, which is like the tube that goes down your nose into your stomach. And
And for a long time, I felt like I really couldn't keep up with them at the same level that they were at, like academically, athletically, even like socially. And I think that is kind of part of the sibling.
Cool. All right, look at that. Isn't that awesome?
yes, it's exciting.
Okay, let's see if we can find the questionnaires. I came pretty prepared actually.
Yeah.
Oh, camera. But this is cool. It's so spontaneous. You sit
Yeah.
in the park and you get to be on your first
This is
podcast.
exciting. I wanted to start a podcast with my friends in Tim Hortons, but that never actually ended up
Oh,
happening.
really?
Yeah.
Ah, that's crazy. All right, so I'm just going to quickly introduce the show.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 18th Avenue, Overcoming Adversity and Finding Hope podcast. Today I am here with Maria. And Maria, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm having a pretty good day today.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for doing this. And you do understand like this is going to go on social media
Yeah.
and that's fine with you?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here is the first question. Can you share a time in your life when you faced significant adversity and how did you navigate that situation?
Oh shoot, that's my boyfriend. Hi, Iggy. Hi. I'm on a podcast right now.
No way.
She's on the podcast. She's doing a podcast right now, dude.
Hi. That's wild. Nice to see you.
Mind if I join?
It's overcoming adversity and finding hope. You care to share that kind of story?
I think she's got it more than I do, but sure.
Yeah? Okay, well,
This is
jump on in. Logan, pleasure to meet you. I'm Rico.
It's me.
Yeah, sit on right down. You know what?
Let me just pause my DoorDash real quick.
Yeah.
Dashing.
Okay, it's all good.
That's so funny. I didn't actually think you'd be coming this way.
I was trying to find you.
Can you share a time in your life when you faced significant adversity and how did you navigate that situation?
Okay. Well, there was a pretty significant moment in my life that comes to mind. I struggled with an eating disorder when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really, really difficult time. It was at the height of the pandemic. My parents were both doctors, so they were away a lot. So it was hard. I had to kind of navigate it all myself at first, and then it got really bad and I had to go to the hospital, and it was really, really hard. It was hard to see myself as more than, just my body, and trying to overcome that took a lot of work. I mean, I'm still working to, getting to my best self today. I still can't eat pasta, but, I can eat pizza now, which is, a pretty big deal for me. But it's taken a lot of work. And I think the biggest thing was just having my mom and dad there was the biggest difference. I felt so supported. I remember I was in the hospital and I just got my NG tube in, which is like the tube that goes down your nose into your stomach. And, I was crying a lot, and my dad just came over and he just held me and we just cried to Taylor Swift. It was weirdly funny and weirdly like safe at the same time. Like I felt so at peace just having him, have his arms around me, and we're just both crying to folklore. And I don't know, I really bonded with my dad, and I've been so much closer with him. And so having that relationship with my parents and them helping me get through it was a really big thing that helped me navigate that.
Okay, so before we even go to you there, I just wanted to stay on that for a second there. Do you remember like what caused your eating disorder? Has it always been a thing, or how did it happen?
I mean, it was pretty gradual. I think I've always been very insecure about myself, and I think with COVID, I had so much time to think about myself, which was awful. I've been struggling with depression for years, and it got really bad during the pandemic, and I had no other way to cope. And so my eating disorder kind of came up, and I was just, it took my mind off my depression and gave me something else to think about, which was not much better, but it was kind of like a way for me to cope with feeling lonely, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Logan, you want to jump in?
Sure.
Do you want me to repeat the question or you good?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. Can you share a time in your life when you face a significant adversity and how did you navigate that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. Mine is very different than Maria's, but I'm a triplet, and I have two other brothers who are the same age as me,
Nice.
and I think that we're very competitive with one another, and both my brothers are very high achieving, and for a long time, I felt like I really couldn't keep up with them at the same level that they were at, like academically, athletically, even like socially. And I think that is kind of part of the sibling experience. Is you compare yourself to your siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was hard for me to accept that they could do a lot better at me in a lot of other things. And then another thing was I was diagnosed with ADHD in like 2016,
Okay.
and it was something that really bothered me because I feel like I felt like that kind of, I pinned responsibility on that for why my brothers were so ahead of me, like in school and like in running and things like that. Because to be honest, they just worked a lot harder than I did.
Right.
And they definitely deserve all the success that they got, but there was something that really bothered me for a long time, and I never really wanted to solve it because I feel like I didn't want to acknowledge that was something that was actually holding me back.
Mhm.
I wanted to think that I was on the same level playing field as my brothers. So it was really hard for me to, I guess, accept that and deal with that, because I felt like I should be able to compete with them on the same level. And I guess I kind of overcame that eventually. Just like this year, I actually kind of like started looking at that, and I took like medication for that and stuff, and it definitely has helped a little bit. And I think it has made me realize that my brothers aren't necessarily a lot better than me, and I'm not any better than them, but we're all just different. And it took me a long time to realize that and accept that.
Yeah.
We can all succeed in different ways, and it's just the parameters that you measure success by that dictates that, and not to get too caught up in comparing each other, because they all have their disadvantages and I had mine too. And yeah, it was actually a level playing field more than I realized the whole time.
Someone told me like success is really just hard work. People say, yeah, it's luck, but some people just work super hard. I read the story of Sam Walton. I read his book, and the owner of Walmart, the guy who started Walmart, and just the things that he had to go through. If you ever get a chance, just read it, and you kind of realize, like, you know what? I think your brother, yeah, some people are just born a certain way, and they might have a certain gift that they're born with, but it doesn't exclude you as an individual to say, like, yo, I couldn't compare myself or I couldn't do better. It all comes down to, I think, wanting it. Like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm out here on the street because I want it that bad. I could be home making phone calls and trying to book people and say, hey, would you like to get on this podcast? And they're going to say, well, how about next Sunday or next Friday? And then guess what? Next Friday come along, oh, something comes up, and that delays my time. So rather than doing all of that, I get on the street and I come to find people. I know it's going to be a yes or a no. So I don't think you're lacking any skills. It's just really, Logan, at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, how bad do I freaking want it? And very soon you see your brother coming up to you and being like, hey, damn, dude, what are you doing? What's your secret sauce? Right?
Yeah.
But okay, so the eating disorder, yeah, I don't know. It's a very sensitive thing, and I'm not really like an expert in that, but I am very, very super glad that, you've able to find some sort of resolution and peace with it. So here's my follow-up questions, and you guys may have already partially answered this question, but I will ask it again anyway. What was the most valuable lessons you learned from that experience, and how has it shaped your perspective on life?
I think for me, it was the whole idea that I am more than my body, I'm more than, my sport, I'm more than my academics. All of those played a massive role in my eating disorder. So I was really stripped down to my core, I think. I had to see myself for who I was, and it's a very vulnerable position to be in at 15. You have no idea who you are. I still have no idea who I am, but it was just, I had to take a look at myself and be like, you know, I'm more than, you know, just this corpse. I'm actually a being with feelings and emotions and thoughts, and I want to develop that. And so I had to, you know, take a step back and start appreciating and living a little bit slower. I was always just go, 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 do this workout, do the math, do the homework, now sleep, repeat. I managed to slow down and take a look at what was around me, and I started just doing things for the fun of it. And I don't know, that just brought me so much joy. And so I guess the main thing was just appreciating all the little things, you know, like going on a walk, I don't know, seeing all the leaves change colors, like having my dog give me kisses. Like it's just the really small things, and I just started to appreciate them a whole lot more, and that made my life a whole lot more full. I just stopped caring so much and just started living, and I think that made a big difference.
And do you think that these little things, you were so distracted by what you thought was like the big deal in your life, which was how you look to other people, how they perceive you, you were more concerned about your own self-image, that you overlook all these amazing little tiny things, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, all you have to do is just take a foot out, like step outside and just put your feet in the water, and you just look around and you're like, it is so beautiful out here. The water doesn't care what I look like. The tree doesn't care what I look like. That's kind of just that's only what I think. I think being outside and just like connecting was a really big deal for me. So yeah, I still compare myself a lot, but it's something I've been really working on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love the little things way more than I now care about what people think of me.
That's awesome. Logan, what about you?
Well, interestingly, I think that the lesson is kind of similar, despite how different the adversity is.
Yeah.
It's about looking at the big picture, and that when you compare yourself to others, or in my case, or Maria's case, I guess, really you have to look at what basis of evaluation you're using. Like, I thought my brothers were a lot more successful than me, and maybe they are in certain parameters, but what I realized is that if you look at other things other than like academics, or other than our physical fitness, like there's a lot of other things that I could think of myself as exceeding against my brothers, and there's so many other parameters to success than we think about, because success is not really something that has a hard definition, right? Like it's sort of subjective. And so when I thought of it in a different way, I didn't look at my brothers or me as better or worse. Like, we're all just the same and just different. So I think the big lesson is you have to kind of think about how you see the world in your own way, rather than how other people around you think. Because for Maria and I, like, the school we went to was, I think, very competitive as well, and it focused on very specific parameters of yourself, right? Like your academics and to an extent like your fitness and your athletic performance. And I think if you look inward and you know yourself more, you know that you're more than just academics and athleticism. There's so much more to a person than those parameters. And I think that in my sort of competitive mindset with my brothers, coming out of that in a way, what I realized is there's a lot of other things that we can compare each other with.
Yeah, no.
And so many things that are, I'm 1 point up here, 1 point down here, and they're the same, that it's really just hard to distinguish better or worse between individuals because of that, right? And it's because it's so subjective.
Yeah. So let me get to, because your thing is more about semblance, and I mean, people naturally, I believe, we just have these competitive nature in us anyway. So let me ask you a question, because you pointed out your brother's strength, I believe, but you haven't pointed out any of your own strengths. So let me now ask you a question about your own strength. What do you think that you are good at?
I think
you don't have to be perfect at it, but you just got to be like, yo, I really love doing this thing, and this is what I like doing.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's creativity.
Okay.
And not necessarily in the sense of like art, but creativity in my life. Like, I think that living your life is kind of like art. You get to have a lot of artistic choices and a lot of paths that are open to you,
Yeah.
whether you see them or not. And it's up to you to kind of paint that canvas of which paths you're going to choose in life. And I think that mine, at least compared to my brothers, I think was a lot more unique, sort of.
Yeah.
And I think that my strength maybe was that I'm more willing to take risks and to be kind of open-minded about like the paths I take in my life. So they're both going off to university next year at very high level, and I respect that a lot. And that's their thing, you know. But I'm doing something totally different next year. I'm doing a couple of big bike packing trips.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to Patagonia. I'm going to Chile. I'm going to Mongolia too.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's wild.
That's why I'm doing this job. That's why I'm
Make
doing this job.
sure. Oh, this is your
I'm
training.
training, yeah.
You're in training right now. I love that.
So I feel like it's just that my strength is different. I want to go on these adventures. I want to do different things. I want to have new, unique, and novel experiences. And I think that my ability to chase those down and to take the risk to do that is something that I'm very proud of.
That's excellent.
And it's not something I considered in comparing myself to my brothers earlier. Not that they're any less for living their life in a different way, but I guess I feel like that's my unique strength compared to the three of us, right? Like that's kind of what gives me an identity outside of our collective identity, because we are all very similar, right?
Right. That's awesome. Well, let's move on to the next question. Let me find it here. Okay, so doing and again, some of these questions you all may have, partially answered them, but we'll see. During your most challenging time, when did you find hope? How did that source of hope help you move forward?
Want to go for it?
For me, it's always been music. This is actually a very, very specific memory. So besides the one of my dad and I crying to folklore, my nurses and we sat down when I was having a moment, and my favorite artist at the time was Shawn Mendes, and I had this massive poster in the hotel room, in the hospital room, and they just started playing Shawn Mendes and singing it with me. And every time that I felt exhausted, like I can't keep going, or I'm just so upset, music is my escape. And it always makes me feel so empowered. Even if it's like really depressing music, like music just brings me so much joy. And I think that really, really helps me get through difficult times. And it helps me see that there's hope, that there's other people who feel the same thing that I do.
Yeah.
And there's people that have gotten through it. And I don't know, stuff like that. Like I recently just went to a concert in which they played super depressing music. And they played a song that kind of defined like a hard time for me. And one of the lyrics is like she could do anything she wanted to. She knows she lived through it to get to this moment.
Right.
And I don't know, those words have struck true with me for a very long time. And I know I can do it. And so music is just so empowering, and it's always gotten me through those tough times. So that's the hope for me.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's actually very, very beautiful.
That is.
Phoebe Bridgers.
For me, what gave me hope? That's a really good question, man.
Yeah. Was there a moment when you had that switch of mindset, or like, what was that moment for you?
Actually,
that realization.
So this year, I feel like I was really falling behind my brothers. So this year, kind of in the fall, I was like, I should figure out this like ADHD thing, because I kind of knew about it the whole time, but I wasn't really like, I guess you could say that I was kind of denying it, because I didn't want to think of myself as like lesser than my brothers because of it. So eventually I had this mindset shift in the fall where I was like, I'm going to figure this out and see if it does anything. And yeah, I started looking at it as not so much as a problem, but just as something about me, about my person, and
Yeah.
not as like something like a negative characteristic, I suppose. that's why I decided to like actually go and like, honestly, I was kind of embarrassed to like talk about it, or actually like, that's why I didn't want to do anything about it. But now I just like started taking medication and stuff, and thinking about the reason why I feel like I'm falling behind compared to my brothers, and how I'm kind of looking at the relationship between these two things.
Yeah.
And I think that it kind of gave me a little bit of peace of mind to know that like, I think my dad described it well. He said like, it's like I've been doing everything with a hand behind my back this whole time, and now I'm working on, untying my hand from behind my back. And I think that by actually like acknowledging the problems I was having with that gave me hope, because I realized like it wasn't just me. I guess sort of the reason that I felt I couldn't work as hard as them was sort of something real that I could actually solve, and it wasn't just something that was just a part of me forever.
Right.
And it definitely is a part of me, but it's something that I can kind of shape a little bit on
100%.
myself. Yeah, that gave me a lot of hope, and it's been pretty good for me up to now. And I'm glad that I had that mindset.
That's
shift.
good.
Yeah,
That's good. That's amazing, man. All right, so we move on to the next question, and after this, it's just one more question.
yeah.
All right, so this next question here says, how have you transformed the pain or adversity you face into a driving force for positive change in your life?
That's actually a really great question.
Yeah.
I think for me, my eating disorder pushes me to remind myself who I am and what I'm living for. I think when I was at my lowest, I couldn't really see any future for myself. And now every day it's like I'm still here, and there's a reason I'm still here. So I'm going to find that reason, and I'm going to just live each day to the max. So I'm done letting something so small as my appearance hold me back from actually experiencing the world around me. I'm just so tired of being afraid of taking up more space, and I'm so tired of that. Like I should be allowed to take up as much space as I need to, and I'm starting to become comfortable with that. And
Good.
I know there's people out there who have struggled like I have, and I don't know, it brings me hope that I can get better, so that I can see other people get better.
Yeah.
It's a really tough place to be in, and it really, every time I think about like kind of wanting to go back to that place, it's like I think about the low, and it's like I can't do that. I have to push myself, and I have to learn that I'm more than just that, and that's what I want to spread to other people. That whole idea that you are just so capable of anything you want to achieve. Just don't let something as small as your appearance hold you back from experiencing life to the fullest. I mean, a mountain is not going to care if you're 10 pounds heavier than you are right now. A person who truly loves you will not care if you are 10 pounds heavier than you are now. Like, I'm done being afraid of what people think of me, for me not to experience life as it is, because this is so beautiful. So, I don't know, I just appreciate everyday life, and that's what pushes me forward for me.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logan, it's on you.
Yeah, I know. So,
I love how she goes. Maybe we should do you next time. Because when she's going, I feel like she put you in a spot.
Sorry about that. My bad.
she has big stuff. Yeah. So what's the driving force that came out of it?
Yeah.
For me, I would say it's finding the ways that I'm different from my brothers, and like developing my full potential that way, rather than evaluate myself based on these really arbitrary things. I think that exploring, like finding out who I really am and what makes me an individual, and trying to pursue all those things to a higher level, I think is kind of something that's come out of it. And I have this drive to like really establish my individuality, I suppose.
Yeah.
As a result, and I guess to be novel, sort of, to do unique things that no one else might do, and to find out what I'm good at and who I am, and just like do that and do whatever that is to the fullest extent. So
Right.
I think right now I'm kind of in this like experimentation stage where I'm trying to figure out like who I am, and it's just about like taking risks and being open to new experiences, going to Mongolia, things like that.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the driving force is like who am I suppose. I'm trying to ask myself that question, and then especially like at this time in my life when I just graduated high school, it's like, okay, without this school, like who am I? With school, who am I?
Mm.
And then that applies to everything else in my life. Without my bike, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
Without Maria, who am I?
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a healthy sort of motivating mindset that's come out of it. So
Right.
I'm quite pleased with it, actually. I think it's something that a lot of us should think about, and I'm glad that I got here in the end, I suppose, you know.
Yeah. You came at the right time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so the final question here. Can you so here's the final question. Can you share a story about a personal book or an event that inspired you or provided a sense of hope during your difficult times? And how has this inspiration influenced your action?
So like a book.
Yeah, so maybe you read a book. I think you touched up on this early on. You know, you talk about music, but now he's talking about a book or a person that may have inspired you in that time. And how did that, you know?
Okay, so for me, what inspired me the most, I think, were people. So it was my mom and my dad. They're both immigrants to Canada. They came when I was really young, and they had to go through a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you're in a totally new country. You don't speak the language. My dad had to like learn all English before he came. My mom had to learn it too. I was really young, so my mom had to restart. She had to take time off work, take care of me, and so she's a doctor, and she had, already finished all her residency in Mexico, and when she came here, they told her she had to redo it all. So she went through her residency all over again with a young girl, like that's a lot of work to, put on your
100%.
back. So they have faced so much discrimination, and they have so much drive to make the world a better place for me. And I don't know, I really got to appreciate that when I was older. They put so much work into making me feel safe and making me feel at home in a country, that didn't accept them.
Right.
And so they really inspired me to keep going because they worked so hard just to get me here. I mean, I might as well help them finish that, and live my life, with happiness and with potential and with purpose, because I know that's what they would want, right? And they work just so hard, and I'm like, if they can do that, I can get through this too.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, shout out to my mom for being so inspiring, and my dad for working so hard. Like
100%.
they are absolutely awesome.
Shout out to the immigrants' parents.
Shout out to immigrant parents, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand that part of the story, but yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. What about you, Logan?
Yeah, I think sort of two things come to mind. The first is a book. It's called The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
And so it takes this idea from William Blake. I think the quote is something like, if the doors of perception were cleansed, then man could see the world as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up until he sees the world only through the chinks in his cavern. So the book explores that in a lot of different ways, from Eastern religion, Western religion, this like psychedelic drug called mescaline, and all kinds of things. But
Nice.
it seeks to figure out what are these doors of perceptions that we
Right.
have in our mind, and how can we open them. And I think that for me, I read it quite early on before all this, and it's kind of ironic that I never really realized that I was subject to that, because the doors of perception, they're like these pathways in your mind that you choose to have open or closed.
Right.
Because the world exists as it is, and we interpret it in a way that's subjective and personal to us,
Right.
even if we don't realize it, even in very small ways. And that's exactly what happened to me in interpreting me and my relationship with my brothers and our success. And in reality, my doors of perception were closed, I guess, to go with the metaphor. That I wasn't actually looking at things the way they were. I was looking at things in this very narrow, arbitrary mindset. That
100%.
yeah, it doesn't really necessarily have any
Yeah.
factual validation, right?
Yeah.
It's something that you can make up.
It was just how you felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that the second thing it was people, because I think that Maria actually was a big part of the reason why I was able to open those doors, I guess, to continue with the metaphor. Because it's hard to look back on yourself in an objective way, right? It's important to like kind of be introspective sometimes and think about yourself and your beliefs and really what shapes them.
Yeah.
But if you have an external pressure that is forcing you to think about why you think of things the way they are, it can be a very helpful push that you wouldn't get otherwise, just on your own volition.
Absolutely.
And I think Maria really validated, because she knows my brothers and I all very well, and I think she really validated my worth as an individual in the triplet set. And I don't want to put the message that you should get your validation from other people, but it was something that made me look at it in a different way.
It helped.
Yeah, and the way that she accepted me for who I was, and regardless of all that, and
Yeah.
it was very supportive. And I think at the end of the day, it comes from within, but there can be external factors like people that really allow you to change the way that you look at the world and yourself and open those doors, right?
That's very, very powerful. Listen, I'm not super worried about you, Logan, because I think your next adventure is going to be so huge, and
Yeah.
you're going to encounter a lot of cool, super cool experience. But the key here is to just consistently have an open mind to whatever you face, whatever's in front of you.
Exactly.
I just went home for the first time after 25 years. I've been here since I was a kid.
Wow.
And prior to going, I was just super scared. I was like, shoot, going to Africa, that's crazy. That's scary stuff. I'm not going. You know, I said it for so long. And then I was talking to my mentor, who said, you know what, it's probably the best thing you could do, because I just felt like I was just stagnated. You know, I wasn't really progressing. You know, I got a job, I get paid fairly well. It's like, but I needed something more. I needed something more that was bigger than I. And so when I took that trip, I was just mind blown by everything. So all the previous experiences, all the knowledges that I learned from here about there didn't really matter, because I was physically there now, and the experiences were just like so overwhelming. I felt like the dumbest person in that situation. But sometimes it's a great situation to want to be in, because you put yourself in that place and you quickly realize, wow, there's so much to draw from here and take into my new life and stuff. So I think on your trip, you're absolutely going to have those different experiences. You know, some may be funny, some may be sad, whatever the case is, but take it all in, man. Don't let it like turn you off or anything like that. I think it should always just push you to do something else. And as for Maria, I think, like, you know, so many of what you said, you really don't need me to add to that, because I think that you're in a place right now where you're just fully in control of what's going on. You recognize where you need to be, where you need to put your energy, which I think is a very powerful thing. You've dealt with it, you've come to terms with it, you know what it looks like, you know what it tastes like. So I think for you, I'm not super worried or super concerned anymore, because I believe that you're on the right path. And I think you do have a beautiful support system around you. Your parents, the immigrant stories. I have yet to have someone else talk about the immigrant stories and bring their parents into your own personal thing like that. It's so amazing and so powerful. So I'm not super worried. Look, guys, keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for appearing on this podcast. I think that, you know, someone is going to hear your story and be like, yeah, I can relate to that.
Oh,
Because people just go through that, man. It's just how it goes. And yeah, thank you so much. I didn't realize there was trucks and cars that drove around here.
Neither did I.
Just in time.
Yeah, so guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. You came the right time, Logan.
Yeah, just in time.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you for wanting to do this.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So let that truck go, and then we would just do like final words, any final messages you want to put out there to other people listening to this that might come across this.
good questions, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. It's for the right people. When I'm on the street, people tell me no, they tell me no, but I've been doing this a while. And so when I first started, it was like I didn't really know what I was doing. I started like a few years back. I didn't know. I just wanted to get whatever, just get people on the mic.
Right.
But now I'm not looking for everybody to be on the mic. So I'm actually grateful when someone tells me no, because I'm like, okay, cool. That wasn't the right person. I need to keep stepping. I'm not wasting time. So, but go ahead. Final lessons, message.
So for me, I'd say biggest takeaway: appreciate all the little things in your life. Appreciate the people who take you for who you are, and don't settle for anything less than someone who accepts all of you and is willing to grow with you. Because I think once you find, someone who's willing to, see you at your worst and still love you, and see you at your best and still love you, those are the people you need to find. Those are the people that are going to be with you for a very long time, whether that's your parents, your best friend, be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and find something that makes you happy, not because, you think you're good at, not because you're good at it or because you feel like you have to do it. Find something that you enjoy and take everything you can from that, because that's what's going to make you happy in the long run. And
Excellent.
listen to Phoebe Bridgers.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
For me, I would just say always reevaluate how you see the world. Think about what individual things about you make you see the world the way you do, and always be trying to challenge that and expand your mind and look at the world in a broader and more objective way, removed from your own biases, and especially when you're looking at yourself and comparing yourself, really think about the parameters that you're comparing yourself by to others, because a lot of the time it's just totally made up, it's very arbitrary, and I think we should all challenge ourselves to see the world in a more broader way and think about what influences us to think that the way we do. I think once you know that, you can get a better understanding of who you are, and you can look at where you're going. And yeah, I think we all need to take a close look at why we see the world the way we do.